What's happening, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more Gary Numan. And we're going to listen to a bonus tune included in the expanded folder for his 1980 album Telekon. Thank you again to Mr. Solo. Though I did want to mention, as far as I'm aware, this is the last song of his I currently have access to, so I don't quite know what else is out there in his discography. I hope we can continue this deep dive, but in this current moment, I think this is the last track that I have ready to react to. And if you can help in that regard, put a comment below, send me an email, and we can figure it out. But for the time being, the song is I Die, You Die, which feels symmetrical, equal, though also dangerous and maybe lethal. Now, my first thought is that perhaps this isn't about dying in a literal physical manner, but maybe dying psycho-emotionally, dying internally, maybe dying socially or interpersonally. And in that regard, or by extension, I do wonder whether this could relate to another autobiographical perception of Gary's in terms of his response to and feelings about fame, the music press, fans, including those who tried to pry into his personal life, and certainly there were a few songs on the album proper, Telekon, that dealt with those issues, some of which I picked up on in the moment when reacting, and of course people provided a lot of additional details and insight in that regard. So yeah, I wonder if it might be in that realm, but of course I'll try to catch what I can on a first listen. Let's hear it. This is Gary Numan. The track is I Die, You Die, and it's a bonus tune included in an expanded folder for his album Telekon. love that track, and that end was especially arresting, in part because most of the track had that Numan style where there's a lot of very electric, even celestial sounding keyboard work, but also some, wicked sounding guitars, which I guess is most specifically, it reminds me of some of the Two Way Army stuff. But at the end there was still that, electric drone bass, like lower end, but the main melodic line suddenly shifted to like a true piano type sound, and then right at the very, very end, shifted back to a more electronic keyboard configuration. So that was a really interesting conclusion. And yeah, I did not hear a lot of the lyrics, but I definitely heard the line about something like turning on him. So again, it feels like maybe this is autobiographical in terms of, what was happening in his personal slash professional life at the time. There was a line at the beginning I caught, and of course now I'm failing to recall it, in part because of the way that ending, really caught my ear and brain, or ears plural and brain. But yeah, I don't, even if I remembered that tidbit that I caught at the beginning, I'm not sure like what to make of it as a whole, and partly because again, the sonics like were very full and it was a very dynamic tune, and so I wasn't catching all the lines. And sometimes Gary's vocals, just because of the way he sings, it like takes me a couple times to hear. So I'll look forward to any lyrical and thematic insights people have. But definitely a very compelling tune sonically. And as always, when I react to non-album tunes, I wonder, was it a matter of timing? Was it composed or like finished after the album had concluded? Did it come before the album? Was it a track that was considered in the mix for the album, but then was left off? Others were chosen over it, so it ended up, not being on the album proper. Was it released as a B-side? Was it, again, a non-album, like A-side single? I am curious of the provenance of the track, is I guess my point. But yes, again, knowing a lot more now about how Numan was a pioneer and inspired some of the acts that would come only a year or two later, like after this album. Again, I'm a big fan of Depeche Mode and, the Eurythmics and other groups that in the next few years would become known for electronic sounding synth pop, and, having a sense that Numan, among some other groups, and of course, going back from what I understand to a group like Kraftwerk and so on, like, that there were trailblazers who paved the way or opened up new ground that, again, some of these other bands that I have known going back to my youth would then take advantage of. Not like in a cynical way, but just, they were exploring an avenue, a genre, a style that Numan and at least a couple others had pioneered. It's enjoyable to me not only, to hear his music, but to understand a bit of the lineage and the pedigree that was part of this early 80s shift toward keyboards and synthesizers. And I recently was rewatching a Depeche Mode documentary where they're talking about, by the time of Speak and Spell, some music press is like, is this the death of the guitar or synthesizers taking over? And again, hearing Gary's Two Way Army stuff especially, but also some stuff just under his name, it's a really interesting discussion because, again, Gary was doing stuff with very electronic sounding keyboards, but also some wicked and rougher edged guitar sounds. So yeah, it's at the time, again, I was born in 1980, so I was not able to follow these things in real time. And of course, as a single digit kid, I got into music that was building off of what had happened very late 70s, early 80s. But now, again, as an adult, and with all you fine folks out here giving me information, insight, and commentary, I'm able to get a fuller sense of what was happening that I got swept up in as a kid, again, especially as a kid who had an older sister and older brother. So I was hearing music that I probably wouldn't have heard if I didn't have older siblings. So yeah, it's great to get a fuller story. So once again, let me know if you can help with the Numan material. Shout out once more to Mr. Solo, who not only provided the material, but sort of sent me in the direction of Numan now, 2-3 years ago, something like that. So it has been an enjoyable journey. Hopefully we will continue. Let me know what you think of this tune, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.